With the Defenders' debut on Netflix mere weeks away, most mighty Marvel fans have already logged dozens of couch potato hours binge-watching for this monumental team-up. But how much do you know about the true origin of the Defenders? And what if we told you that the Netflix four, Daredevil, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and Iron Fist, have relationships within the comics that span decades, making them the perfect group to represent the Defenders in the MCU? We here at the Comics Pals have done a deep dive into the comics themselves to present to you the true history of the Defenders. I'm Cale Ward, and welcome to Behind the Books. The latest volume of the Defenders comics features the very same characters we'll see team up in the Netflix series. But to truly talk about this team, we need to go all the way back to 1971, long before any of us pals were born. The very first team-up of what would later become the Defenders took place in a two-part story on the pages of Submariner number 34 and 35. Namor calls in help from the Hulk and Silver Surfer to prevent the use of some potentially world-ending tech. Referring to themselves as the Titans 3, the group goes head-to-head with the Avengers, who intervene, believing Namor to be wrong about the danger of said device. This team-up was brief, but planted the seeds for their future alliance as the Defenders. Not long after, Doctor Strange called upon the Hulk and Namor to help him protect the Earth from the Nameless One and his horde of Undying Ones in Marvel Feature number 1. This issue marked the official formation of the Defenders, and due to the massive popularity of this one story, the team got their first series just a few months later. The group had a mostly rotating cast throughout its initial 14-year run, with the likes of Nighthawk, Valkyrie, Beast, and even Luke Cage working with the team at different points. But the core group of Namor, Hulk, Silver Surfer, and Doctor Strange were almost always at the center of their adventures. The Defenders would go on to be a mainstay in Marvel's publishing line for decades to come. So at this point you're probably asking, what do the Netflix 4 have to do with any of this? Well, that's a great question. Much like how the original Defenders were oddball outcasts with little in common except a desire to protect the Earth, the Netflix 4 will come together on screen in a very similar fashion if the comics are any indication. Characters like Luke Cage and Iron Fist couldn't be any more different on the surface, but they'll work together to stop the Hand in the Netflix series, and if the show plans to reflect the comics, we'll start to see the burgeoning of their great friendship. Though Luke and Jessica already know one another going into the Defenders, it's Luke and Danny who are the first of these four to meet within the books. Hoping to cash in on the popularity of blaxploitation at the time, Luke Cage made his debut in Luke Cage Hero for Hire number 1 in 1972. His origin is pretty accurately portrayed on his Netflix show, albeit with a few notable changes. During his time as a member of the Defenders, Cage is blackmailed by a villain called the Bushmaster. What a name. Not only does Bushmaster acquire documents exonerating Luke of crimes he had been framed for by Willis Stryker, aka Diamondback, but he also kidnaps Dr. Noah Burstein and Claire Temple, who fans should easily remember from his Netflix show. Bushmaster uses this against Cage, forcing him to reluctantly agree to kill Misty Knight, who defeated and humiliated the Bushmaster in order to save his friends and clear his name. This leads to a conflict with Misty's boyfriend, none other than Iron Fist. However, it isn't long before Iron Fist and Misty learn of Luke's plight and decide to help him defeat the Bushmaster. Proof in hand, Cage is finally able to clear his name. Now a free man, Cage decided to launch Heroes for Hire alongside his new friend Iron Fist. This also saw the launch of the Power Man and Iron Fist series, a book created to give the two characters a home as neither could support a solo series. However, the characters' natural chemistry has since led to them becoming one of the most celebrated bromances in all of comics. The two even went on to serve as Avengers together on a team led by Luke Cage himself, fighting alongside Captain America as Secret Avengers during the superhero Civil War. Around that same time, Iron Fist looked like this. That's right, good old Danny Rand took up the mantle of Daredevil in order to help his buddy Matt Murdock convince the media, his allies, and his enemies that he wasn't actually the man without fear. What a pal. Speaking of Daredevil, he's the oldest character of the Netflix 4, and arguably the one with the greatest stories under his belt. If you think his life is complicated on television, try reading any of these classic Daredevil comics. Sometime after the Civil War, Daredevil decides that the only way to stop the secret society known as the Hand is to take control of them and use them for good. Matt then took out their leadership and positioned himself as the Grand Master of the Hand. This move causes his friends, especially Luke Cage and Iron Fist, to call Matt's judgment into question, and before long, Daredevil takes things too far with the murder of Bullseye, forcing the heroes to make the choice to stop him. This all comes to a head in Shadowland, a mini-series that features the battle for Matt Murdock's soul, as we learn that his body has been possessed by the demonic Beast of the Hand, a supernatural creature worshipped by the Hand. All's well that ends well though, and Matt's pals are ultimately able to save him and stop the Beast. What are friends for if not rescuing us from being possessed by demons? So where's Jessica Jones during all this? Jessica was created almost 30 years after the rest of the Netflix 4 by writer Brian Michael Bendis for his series Alias. Fun fact, he originally intended to use Spider-Woman Jessica Drew as the main character of his series because, according to Bendis, she has the best hair in comics. However, Bendis quickly realized the character he was writing wasn't Drew, so he went back to the drawing board, and Jessica Jones was born. Bendis wove Jessica into the history of the Marvel Universe by retconning her into the lives of various characters, most notably Spider-Man and Luke Cage. When we first encounter her, Jessica is a private investigator and the sole employee of Alias Private Investigations. Throughout the series, we learn that she went to Midtown High, the same school as Peter Parker, and was even inspired to use her powers for good after witnessing Spider-Man beat down the Sandman. Jessica went on to become the superhero Jewel, but her career was short-lived and not particularly successful. Things take a dark turn for her when she encounters Zebediah Killgrave, aka the Purple Man, who uses his powers of mind control to torture and manipulate her into aiding him in criminal acts. He sends her to Avengers Mansion, where she's meant to find and kill Daredevil, but Jessica is stopped and rescued by Carol Danvers before she can cause any real harm. After these traumatic events, she gave up the Jewel identity, instead donning the persona of the Nitrous, electing to stick closer to the ground and keep out of the public eye. During one of her outings, she drops in on a meeting between a few major players in underground crime and teams up with Luke Cage to stop the Owl. From there, Jessica and Luke became friends, and then friends with benefits. It isn't until Jessica becomes pregnant with their child that the couple mutually express their feelings for one another and decide to take their relationship seriously. During Luke's tenure as a member of the New Avengers, Jessica gave birth to their child. Her name was Danielle. That's right, Luke and Jessica named their child after Luke's best buddy, Danny Rand. Back from the dead, Diamondback has it out for Luke Cage, even going as far as putting Jessica Jones in the hospital to send a message to his former best friend. But an attack on one of them is an attack on all of them, and Daredevil and Iron Fist quickly join in to help out their friends. So as you can see, in the comics, these four characters have been interacting with each other for decades, all culminating in the most recent Defenders series, which marks the first time they've officially united as a team. This team may not be the first to use the name, and Marvel may have had brand synergy in mind when they launched this volume of the Defenders starring the Netflix 4, but no one can argue that these characters don't embody the spirit of the Defenders. How these characters will interact during the Defenders miniseries is anyone's guess, but Marvel hasn't strayed far from the origins of these characters so far, so expect the show to bring these characters closer together as they keep the world from falling apart when Netflix's Defenders launches this August. And that is the history of how the Comics Pals were formed. Oh, it isn't? Alright, well we'll save that for next time. Thanks for watching our first stab at some new YouTube exclusive content. Let us know in the comments below if you'd like to see more content like this from us, and before you go, be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for even more from the Comics Pals.